330 Sports Show. My name is Justin Coffin, and today is Tuesday, December 8th, 2020. We are broadcasting live from downtown Youngstown, Ohio, and we are produced by Joe Danier's Youngstown Studio Network. We are going to open the phone lines today if you'd like to call in, talk about anything in the weekend in sports. But the phone lines, the number is 330-595-1600. Again, 330-595-1600. On today's show, we'll review the weekend that was in sports, including obviously a huge Browns win. We'll get into that. And the Pittsburgh Steelers suffered their first loss of the season in an upset against Washington last night. We'll talk about that later. We'll look at the updated NFL playoff picture as well as some NCAA stuff. But before we get into all that, our sort of a leadoff hitter today, we're going to bring in, we have a guest in studio. He is an Austintown Fitch Falcon graduate. He's a sports journalist, and he's a reporter and anchor right down the road here at WFMJ. I'd like to welcome in Corey McCrae. Corey, thanks for coming in.
Oh, Justin, what's up, man? And hey, pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me. And oh man, like you said, Youngstown, I think it has like a little bit of a ring to it. I mean, especially, you know, we're just in the perfect mecca for just about everything. And it's funny you talk about, just football in general. But no, what's up with you?
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad you could come in, and I know you're sort of a big sports guy down there at WFMJ. And but tell us. Let's get into a little bit about your background and how you got into not just like media and journalism, but how'd you get into basically what made you choose that field to get into WFMJ?
It was kind of weird because honestly, when I got out of high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. You know, I went to Austintown and they had ACTV and I wasn't a part of that. So at that point I didn't really know what was kind of in the cards then. I thought, hey, maybe I want to go to law school or something like that, and it just turns out right around the time I graduated, and it was, Youngstown State was bringing in their sports broadcasting program. So I go there. I think it's for their creative communication fest that they have there. And you really fell in love with it. And, Dr. Earnhardt and a couple other people there, I mean, they really made it feel like home.
Awesome.
And you live here, you grow up here. And I mean, that. I mean, it's just, it's home. At the end of the day, it's home. And, I grew up and love just about trying to get involved in every sport that I could. And, it's just to be able to cover it, because you get old, sooner or later you can't do that stuff, but to be able to cover it. And, you grow up, you watch these teams when you're young, you know, and now you get to see them kind of come full circle in a sense.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple friends last week. It was funny because we always talk about sports and just BS and whatever. We have our group text messages, and we were talking about just playing the other day. And I'm up in my upper 30s now, and we were like running and playing some basketball and stuff. And it's like, man, just, you get those aches and pains that, or at least I do now, that I didn't have probably like 10, 15 years ago, but it's like, I still have that knowledge now, but not able to, have that on the court. But anyway, tell us about like, some of your, sports history, like what you did you had mentioned you played a little baseball and soccer at Fitch.
So I played baseball for a year, when I was there, and then same thing with soccer. I played a lot of club, but kind of got involved, like I said, just trying to get involved any way I can, and just kind of, that's kind of the athlete sense. You want to get involved in just about everything you can. But no, it was fun, and I think sports in a way, they just teach you, sports are just kind of, like they're building blocks, for young people. I think they teach people working together. They teach you things that, you necessarily don't look for and you don't see until you've already grown out of it and you got past it, and you're to where we are now,
right?
Old guys.
I think I got the age on you a little bit though. So tell us about now what you're doing at WFMJ. I've seen you covering the sports and stuff, but recently you've been anchoring a little bit here and there. Yeah.
So basically, you like to wear multiple hats if you can. And, anytime, it's just a good feeling if, somebody comes to you and says, hey, we feel confident, can you do this? And, the answer is, oh, absolutely. Yes. It's a blessing to be able to do it. And, anytime you're asked to pinch hit in a sense, you always kind of crave that opportunity. And, they've been coming. And again, I can't really, I think it's an understatement to say a blessing, but it's just, like you said, the more you're in the field, the more, you just kind of, the more you soak up. And as someone that's young in the field, every opportunity is a great opportunity.
Very cool. Very cool. So tell us a little bit about, what it's like to be live behind, or I guess in front of the camera. And when those lights come on, what do you think in a couple minutes or a couple seconds even before those lights come on live?
I think if I took you all the way back to the first time I ever did a newscast, I was like a deer in headlights. That's probably the nicest way to say it. I think everybody else can kind of put their synonyms where they may, but no, I mean, I think the more you do it, it's just, you just feel, you feel natural doing it.
Sure.
I mean, you're going up there and you're kind of representing the Valley. I mean, you're telling them, you're kind of letting them know what's going on, and it's sports. You got to have fun with it. You definitely have to have fun with it. But when that light comes on, it's like they say, it shows, lights, camera, action. But again, I don't think that's even, going up at the studio, that's kind of the end of the night, but I think all the work you put in during the day, whether it's going out, shooting games, I mean, that's, getting out there and actually talking to people, getting out there and connecting, for being a coach,
right?
Just the atmosphere. There's nothing like going to a high school game. There's nothing like, and that's what you get. That's why you love doing it. It's just the people you connect with, the people you meet, the stories you get involved in. It's a really cool feeling. And I think going up at the studio at the end of the night, that's just kind of the icing on the cake.
Absolutely. So I'm sure being in the field has a total different feel to it than, being live, sort of, scripted a little bit behind an anchor desk. So in the field, have you ever had anything crazy thrown at you, or, whether it be like someone you interview that or something that goes wrong, in the field, any interesting stories, I guess?
Well, it's funny. I think I talked to, Coach Jeff Bake, and he was one of my first interviews. And, when you first start out, and it's kind of funny how you ask questions, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I'm probably telling him everything he already knows, and, they're playing, I can't remember, they might be playing Cuyahoga Heights. This was when he was at Warren CFK a couple years ago in the playoffs. And Cuyahoga Heights, I mean, they're very well known for running the football, and obviously Bag knows that. But I come in there as some green guy and ask him, I'm like, this team does all this, and like, and I'm sitting there reading stats off, I shouldn't even be doing that. And he kind of answers the questions, with 2 words. He's like, just got to stop the run.
Right.
And then it kind of stumbles, it humbles you in a sense, it's, and it really, and I think that's what it is, you kind of grow in that sense.
Yeah.
And something else that's probably crazy that's happened in the field was, I got trucked at Warren Harding.
Oh, really?
So that was, I think that was 2018.
Okay.
Camp McKinley's in town, and that's when Dan Reardon was actually up there coaching. So they were in there, and they had a good football team. And this quarterback, kind of like a broken play, rolls to his left, hits a receiver, and he's just going to walk in the end zone, right? And I'm standing, and you've been at Harding before.
Oh, yeah.
So they got the fence and everything's kind of closed in.
Sure.
So there's not a whole lot of room to operate. So it's kind of like park at your own risk necessarily. And, kid about to walk in the end zone, Harding kid pushes him right at the end, and I was right place, right time.
Did you get your legs taken out?
Oh, yeah. There's a picture still hanging up on a billboard in the
oh, really?
In the newsroom. So.
Oh, that's great. I mean, it makes for a good story as long as you didn't get hurt, right?
It does, and the way that if you look at the picture, you see kind of, me laying on top of him. So I try and tell people, I laid the lumber, but most people wouldn't agree.
I'm glad that's caught on camera too. That's pretty great. So for me, I notice, like, this is only my 30th show, so I'm getting very new to this. But I tend to, create my own script and go off of that. What is it like going off a teleprompter when you're behind the desk? Because do you write those scripts, or is there someone else that prepares those and you're just reading off of those?
So I mean, for sports necessarily, I think, you want to tell the story,
Sure.
You want to, I think people kind of know when you're reading.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing with, that, and obviously I think people have it for reference purposes, obviously,
right.
But no, I think, and we do a lot of highlights. It's a lot of ad lib. So, I mean, first of all, you can tell whether you're excited, whether you're reading. So, I mean, those things, it's not so much in news. I think obviously, yeah, it is scripted because of those details. They're important,
right?
And you're not going to sit here and, necessarily if you're doing a news story and you're talking about, whatever happens necessarily, you can't sit there and kind of ad lib details. It just doesn't, It doesn't kind of work that way. But
okay. Okay. So, being a sports fan and this being a sports show, tell us a little bit about some of your favorite teams and favorite athletes.
Okay, so if the cat was out of the bag before, I try to keep that down. Like I told you before, Caroline used to call me out all the time. Now I'm a big Seahawks fan when it comes to football.
Okay.
And my history there, at least, was when I was in second grade. My dad, he told me wherever he said, you get all A's. This is second grade. We go wherever you want to go. And for some reason, I have a feeling he kind of picked it, but I picked Ketchikan, Alaska. So we stayed in Seattle, prior to going up, because Ketchikan's an island, you got to fly.
Okay.
But we stayed up there for a couple of weeks, and Sean Alexander and Matt Hasselbeck, two guys. I mean, they were at a sports bar, so being able to go up and meet them, and at the time, those were my favorite guys. By far. And that's back when it was Quest Field, shortly after the Kingdom. So, I grew up watching Sean Alexander even up until that Super Bowl run. And that was just kind of the captivating moment,
And for people that don't remember him, he was out of Alabama, but he used to rush for like 30 touchdowns in several different seasons. And he was like the fantasy guy back in the day.
He was a fantasy guy. And I'll tell you what, that offensive line was, Walter Jones, a Hall of Famer. Steve Hutchinson was an underrated guy on that line. And, Matt Hasselbeck, even, for many's not going to remember him as, a Hall of Fame type quarterback, but he's someone that made big time throws, and, he wore number 8 pretty proudly. And he had the days of Seneca Wallace, even, then beast mode, and then, to where we are now. But, nothing like being a Seahawks fan.
That's very cool.
No, it's cool though. But Steelers, Browns, you cover them, you always have some kind of affinity for them. So,
all right. I don't want to put you too much on the spot. So, and I'll get back to the Seahawks here in a minute, but being from, Austin town, so we're going to just say Youngstown, you're pretty much an hour from Cleveland, an hour from Pittsburgh. You have to pick one team, Browns or Steelers.
Oh man.
And everybody knows, that watches the show who I'm going for, but if you I don't want to put you on the spot too much. Well, if you had to pick one, what do you think?
Oh man, if I had to pick one, I've thought about this, and it's honest, it's a lot harder than it seems, honestly, because if the Steelers were to go to the Super Bowl, and they weren't playing, they weren't playing the Seahawks, you would root for them, the Browns, same thing, that's kind of where I stand.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
Maybe, I don't know. I feel like I'd be lying if I said one.
Okay. All right. No, that's fair. I like that. And I kind of think it's cool when people from this area like a random team. I have a couple friends that are now, I guess, Vegas Raiders fans, but always like the Oakland Raiders growing up because of Bo Jackson or whatever. And, I think that's cool to hear your like Sean Alexander, Matt Hasselbeck story. So Russell Wilson, I almost said Westbrook. Russell Wilson, what's up with him the last couple of weeks? What's going on?
You know what, honestly, and it's kind of like I think what the Browns, went through for a couple of weeks. I think complimentary football is honestly their best football. Yeah. I think you let anybody sit back there and throw the rock 40 times. I think that's going to wear down on anybody. Yeah. And you can sustainable for 6 weeks. We saw that for 6 weeks, but after, defenses are going to start switching up. They're going to start adjusting. Yeah. And, Pete Carroll, he's always been the smash mouth football. You watched him when he came in, beast mode was the guy. And they've had, even when Thomas Rawls played for a season, or you had, like Chris Carson now, those are your kind of beat up, your physical, and they drafted that way. They drafted big linemen, to really advance and really enhance that running game. And I think, when Russ is out there winning Super Bowls, granted, he had a great defense at the time too. When they're playing complementary football, you're seeing that play action. It works. It succeeds. I think you see the same thing with Baker Mayfield.
Exactly.
And not saying Russ can't do it, but right. You can only do so much. You can only score 40 points a game and not give up 45.
Right.
So it kind of plays. I think when they're running the football and again playing complementary football, that's definitely their best.
Yeah, because I'd say the first 4, 5, 6 weeks of the year, no doubt Russell Wilson's the MVP. Obviously he's struggled, but this is the NFL. Any given Sunday, any team can beat you, and we saw that unfortunately last weekend. But I think the Seahawks are still going to be a tough out in the going forward. You got Wilson, you got Metcalf, you got Lockett. like you mentioned with the big linemen, but that defense that's going to be their Achilles heel, I feel like, going forward.
And they did. I mean, they went out, they got Carlos Dunlap, and for a team that, I mean, was struggling, getting any kind of pressure, getting sacks, I mean, it really kind of turned around. So I think, not that they're turning the corner, and granted, this is the soft part of the schedule,
right?
But that's what it comes down to. You got to get pressure. You can't let a guy like, even if it's Pat Mahomes, you can't let Baker Mayfield.
Exactly.
I don't care who it is.
Well, believe me, as a Browns fan, I never get too cocky. Even at 9-3 right now, I know the short end of the stick there. Okay, real quick question about Seattle. Do you remember the Seattle Supersonics?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your thoughts on Seattle possibly eventually bringing back an NBA team?
I think it would be. I think it would be nice because you'd have 4 sports just. Because you have Seattle, you have the NHL team that's, and Everett Fitz, you local guy who's calling the games up there. So shout out to him. But excuse me. No, I think it would be, again, I mean, it's, you hated to see him move to OKC the first time, especially with the talent they had at the time. They draft, Kevin Durant,
right? He
leaves, and you would never look back and see guys like James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook on the same team probably ever again.
I know.
And that was fun for as long as it lasted. They go and and I think if that team stays in Seattle a couple more years, has the success that they're probably bound to have. You remember Ray Allen was there for a period of time. Rashard Lewis was nice, but I mean it's it's kind of what happened. Now as far as when it would come back, I mean. You would hope. I remember seeing something as far as like 2025 of them trying to get them back, but I mean, that's kind of, I think that's speculation. That's kind of hope. That's more like hope and dreams right there. But I guess time will tell. No one saw. I don't think too many people saw an NHL team come in and as quick as it did.
Okay. All right. Random NFL question. So I threw this out there on Facebook and Twitter. I got a lot of responses back, but I asked the question last week, who is the best player in the NFL that is not a quarterback? So you take out Mahomes, obviously you take out Wilson, you take out, all the quarterbacks. So who, in your opinion, offense or defense, do you think is one of the top players in the NFL that is not a quarterback?
I'd say Aaron Donald.
Okay.
First and foremost.
Yeah.
I mean, defensive linemen, I don't think they get enough credit. And it's easy for an offensive lineman to scheme and say, hey, we're going to double team this guy, sometimes triple team him, and he still gets the results. I mean, I think he has about 9 sacks right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing this year in and year out. And I remember coming out of the pit, he's an undersized lineman. That's what we heard. But, he kind of plays, he plays just with with a ferocity. I mean, he's just an unstoppable. I mean, I know just from watching him play the Seahawks twice a year, and Russ is always running, and he is just a game changer, and I think just even if you look a couple years ago and they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl, that just tells you how good that defense is. It's sad that they only gave up 13 points and couldn't win, but
no doubt, yeah.
I mean, any offensive coordinator is sitting there and they got a game plan around a guy like Aaron Donald.
Oh my gosh, yeah, he is just a wrecking ball. That's a great answer. I was just curious. Some of the other answers I got, I'm just going to throw them out there, were T.J. Watt of the Steelers, Myles Garrett, Travis Kelce. I thought that was an interesting one. Tyreek Hill, so both guys from that. DK Metcalf, someone said, and Nick Chubb. Those were the most popular answers. So some good answers there. But I like your Aaron Donald one. I think he is a guy that doesn't get too much hype, or doesn't get enough hype, I should say.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's get back to some Youngstown things. So favorite Youngstown food?
Oh, that's tough. I think anybody from around here is going to have their favorite pizza joint.
Yeah.
And Wedgwood is it for me. I'm an Austin Town guy, so got to stick close to home. And Fernando up there, I mean,
I saw he just turned 90.
Just had his and he's moving around. I mean, he's moving around better than most people. I mean, he's a hard worker.
Yeah,
and I know his grandson. We went to school together, Roger. Okay. But it's, I mean, a place like that. I mean, he's just someone that, and when you watch the turnout, and, I didn't get to be there, but, we did a story on it, and just seeing all the turnout just for the people in 90th birthday party, just in these times in a pandemic, I mean, really kind of put in perspective, just how much weight he has here in the area.
Absolutely. Great answer. Love it. Favorite place to go or thing to do in Youngstown, I guess, in normal non-pandemic times?
Whew, that's in Youngstown. Honestly,
or the area. I guess it could be like Warren or, our local viewing area.
That is tough. I'd probably say going to a football game. I mean, just, if it's, even if it's going to a Youngstown State game or a high school game, again, I mean, sports are kind of what, we're sports guys, that's where it's at. But that would take a couple minutes to think of.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's good. I like that. Favorite sports movie or movies?
Oh, I think Remember the Titans, without a doubt.
Okay.
And, not just because, most millennials would say that, but I think you got Denzel Washington in the lead role. I mean, he played that role so perfect. And I mean, it's just that movie now, just with the, with the times and everything, it just, that movie definitely, it was a pioneer, almost. It was just kind of like a pioneer film in a sense, know, and, whether it was just sports, whether it was life, I think it had that combination of both, but definitely my favorite.
Okay. All right. Very good. So I asked this of a lot of guests, with, in baseball, when a batter's coming up, there's a walk-up song. So let's say before a newscast, they're playing a song or something when you're coming out to the anchor desk. What's your walk-up song?
Oh man,
that's a tough one. I know this is a tough question. So if you need me to skip it and we can come back, let me know.
You know what? I've kind of been on I'm younger. I mean, I like Mike Stud. He's definitely a vibe. Most people probably wouldn't even know who he was. But
I've heard the name. I can't tell you what.
He played baseball at Duke.
Okay.
As far as him, playing minor league, sure, he could have played minor league baseball or, went through the system. But he chose, and he was good friends with Marcus Stroman.
Okay.
But no, he's like his own independent artist. And I mean, he just puts out, just some kind of, nice, relaxing music.
Okay.
Some people, they're, if they're going in the gym, they're warming up for a game, they want they want the music to get them pumped up.
Yeah.
But everybody, for everyone is different.
Just want to get relaxed in that.
Just want to, it's just like not even so much to be calm, but it's just a good vibe.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. And since it's Christmas season or getting to that point, favorite Christmas movie?
Oh, no, another one. Honestly, and I haven't watched too many Christmas movies, I'll be quite honest with you. Probably Elf.
Elf, okay.
Probably Elf it's Will Ferrell's always a good one, and if there's not too many I could actually think of that I remember watching in recency,
right.
Definitely Elf is up there.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, we're going to transition in a minute here, but I just want to get your thoughts on, before we move on to the Browns and Steelers, like your thoughts the rest of the year, since we're kind of in the, the midst of, the last quarter of the season, and what's your thoughts with, where they might finish and what their playoff expectations might be. So what's your thoughts on the Browns and Steelers going forward?
I think both. I mean, you look at the rest of the schedule, seems pretty favorable for the most part. For the Steelers, I think you're going to lose at some time, at some point, and they came out last night and kind of, they're up 14 points, at halftime. And I think they kind of looked already to getting on the bus instead of playing the game. And Alex Smith, who didn't do anything crazy, comes out there and kind of punches them in the mouth. And, they weren't able to respond down the way. And I can't remember who got the hand on the ball in that final drive, but that definitely, I felt a game-winning drive coming, but that's a big win for Washington, and to do it at Hines. I mean, empty for the most part, but no, I mean, and again, they'll be okay, but I think most people would go and say that Kansas City is still the team to beat in the AFC, regardless of record. And I think Pittsburgh, is there a little bit of pressure? Of course, because now both teams have the same record. And last thing I think anybody wants to do is go on the road to Arrowhead Stadium for a playoff game.
I agree.
And the Browns, on the other hand, I mean, it's the best time to be playing your best football. And I mean, Nick Chubb, I don't think he gets enough credit. I think he's, when he's healthy, granted he missed 5 games, he's the best running back in football. And I mean, to have that and the 1-2 punch with Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's been great, whether it's the passing game, and I mean, he can make things happen with the football. But again, that team, a couple of weeks ago, they're finding their identity now. Now the pieces are starting to come together, and I don't know how you feel about Odell being out, what that did for the offense.
I'm not in the camp that Odell being out makes the team better. I think for maybe a short time that could take a little pressure off of Mayfield, in the sense of, well, he's expected to get him the ball. But, if you lose an elite level talent like that, you're not a better football team. You know, I've heard people saying, "Oh, the Browns are better without Odell." I personally don't think so at all. Have we been better since? Yes, but I think going forward or in the long run, you're a better football team with him out there than without. So, all right. Last question before we, we've taken up about a half hour of your time here, but last question: what's your expectations of your Seahawks going forward? You know, obviously tough loss to the Giants, struggled a little bit, but anytime you have Russell Wilson, you got a shot.
Absolutely. I think just the rest of the season, I mean, and honestly in the NFC, if you look at it, you know, a lot of times a team who kind of has that home field advantage, you know, Seattle last year, they had to go on the road to Philadelphia. Then they got to make the trip up to Lambeau in the middle of winter. And, you know, that usually I remember being at Lambeau for a Seahawks game and Russ having almost, I think he had either 4 or 5 picks. It was just a bad game.
Okay.
But I mean, the Seahawks are just, you know, that's the only place I wouldn't want them to go is Lambeau. But, you know, the rest of the season obviously important because you want to get that home field advantage. And they can. I mean, the toughest team left is the Rams. You know, you have
that's a tough division. That's a real tough division.
That is tough. And I mean, you have the 49ers at the end of the season. You got, if I'm not mistaken, you got the Jets coming up. You got Washington, and really the Rams are the best team in that bunch. And then you end with the 49ers. So they should be in good shape. I think it's a little scary kind of seeing the offense sputter out and the defense playing better than the offense. But at the end of the day, I mean, you know, usually December is when they're playing their best football. A little bit different to kind of see them.
Well, and you guys still got some time to, you know, hopefully my Browns and your Seahawks are playing their best football in a couple weeks still going forward. All right. So Corey, again, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you taking your time. Good luck at WFMJ and, you know, continued best wishes going forward.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you for having me.
Mario, can we switch it over now to we're going to go over to these Browns highlights from this past Sunday's game against the Titans. Oh. All right. Here we go. We're going to bring this up right now.
A nickel here with Desmond King. Play fake. Mayfield has time. He delivers it downfield and hits Rashard Higgins for a huge gain. Out of bounds on the catch and run. Its first non-losing season since 2007 with the 8 victories. Mayfield tossing underneath. Chubb, catch and run, gliding across the 40-yard line of Tennessee.
Boy, has he really energized this offense since his return.
And now a pivotal 3rd and 2. Little trickery. Landry's a lefty. And it's caught over the shoulder by Mayfield for the first down. Flag is thrown back at the 45-yard line. Mayfield. Looking, wobbler, coming back for the football. Higgins, he secured it. Landry wants the touchdown. Borders there defensively. It may not be a score, but it may be a first down. Motion man Landry. Mayfield sells the fake. Mayfield rifles. Touchdown. Landry on the receiving end. A laser beam from Mayfield. And the Browns build on their lead.
Austin Hooper, the tight end, 81. They're trying to get more top options for him.
Mayfield delivers, and it's on time. And a 3rd and goal at the 1. Mayfield, the fake, wide open, Kendall Lamb. Big man touchdown for the Browns. Starting out at the 25-yard line, they'll go with a bigger formation with 3 tight ends. Fake it. Mayfield sets the feet. He throws the deep ball. We've got separation. Downfield by himself. Peoples-Jones, goodbye. Touchdown Browns. 75 yards on the line. Offensively, conversion rate for the opponent, just under 53%. They haven't stopped the Browns today. Mayfield He's got the first down on a strong throw.
All hawk down the middle. Remember the great play he made against Pittsburgh late in the game?
Mayfield looks the other way. Tosses it underneath. The hurdle by Njoku here in the first half. Can they convert again? Mayfield going to try to run for it. And the dive, it looks like he got the angle.
And their playbook is wide open for Baker Mayfield the way he's playing right now.
2nd and 6. Mayfield lofts it. Touchdown! Perfectly thrown, Rashard Higgins. And Mayfield is dropping dimes. 4th touchdown of the day for Baker Mayfield.
I think in this spot here, 4:17 to go in this lead.
Baker Mayfield finds People-Jones.
So thanks again to Corey McCrae for coming on. Nice job, and look for him over at WFMJ. He does a good job over there. So we just transitioned, saw some Browns highlights from this weekend. I'd like to, talk mostly about the first half of that game and what we saw. So obviously a matchup of 2 8-3 really, really good teams in the NFL. The Browns come out victorious in a score that did not indicate how much the Browns dominated, 41-36, but it was 38-7 at half. So on just a fantastic performance by the Browns in the first half. And I
will always take a shootout over a lethargic game like we saw last night.
Yeah.
And every time.
Oh, no doubt. We'll get to that game here in a second. But the Browns, though, I mean, my goodness. To me, Joe, and you help me out on this, but to me, that was the best performance in any half of football I've ever seen the Browns play.
Absolutely. 100%.
So,
and most complete. Like it wasn't like the defense had to make up for the offense. It was 100% all cylinders.
Exactly. And so the Browns, they scored on all 6. Remember we talked earlier in the year, the Browns in the Raiders game. Now there was that bad weather, but the Browns had 6 possessions that entire game. The Browns go and score on all 6 of their possessions in the
possession
first
was
half.
off the charts.
It's just fantastic. But they went, the first drive, and they had a touchdown. I think it was Peoples-Jones had it in his hands at the 1 yard line, would have walked in the end zone, dropped the ball, settled for 3. And when you saw that, you're like, oh, damn, this could be a tough game. You can't settle for 3 against a good team.
My criticism of Jones, it's been across the board. Like, he's a rookie. He's, he should be on special teams. He should be like really ferreting out his ability to catch balls and take control. And he really hasn't been that. He's probably like mishandled returns more than any other, rookie receiver I've seen back there.
Yeah, he I think, being a rookie, and I don't care where he played his college football, but he's on the Browns. I root for him no matter what. But yeah, I think he's still learning and finding his way. I think he had more receiving yards in this game than he had combined in his career. In his previous games, but just he did step up, and later on he had that 75-yard touchdown.
And I like that they went back to him, because I think that's huge important. If a guy he'll think about that catch that he missed for the rest of his career if you don't give him a chance to rehab or bounce back from it.
Well, and he's a guy that came in with so much hype. At that school up north. This is game week, so we definitely won't say the M word. But yeah, he has, I think you can see his confidence growing. Like you had mentioned, he is playing some special teams. He's back for most of the punt returns. So you can see the Browns obviously have confidence in him. And now without Beckham, you need other guys to step up, but he has all the tools to be a really, really good receiver.
Did I see they picked up another receiver last night?
They signed somebody off of
Detroit, right?
Yeah, Detroit's. I think Detroit released somebody. Offhand, I apologize. I don't know his name, but
look it up.
Hopefully he has. That's somebody that can help their receiving corps going forward. So again, going back to the Browns' first half, 38 points, 5 touchdowns, and a field goal to Tennessee's just 1 touchdown. The Baker Mayfield in that first half too, 20 of 25 for 290 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, anytime you are mentioned in the same sentence as Otto Graham, you are in elite territory. Now, he is the only Browns quarterback since Otto Graham, not Bernie Kosar. We haven't had many, not Vinny Testaverde, no one else, not Brian Sipe, to throw 4 touchdowns in the first half of a game or in any half of a game. So pretty awesome. Again, 290 yards at the half. And he finished with 334 yards passing on the day. He also had a reception in the first half. Again, another pass from Jarvis Landry that he brought in, and that was on a critical 3rd and 2 play. So that was pretty important too.
One of my big criticisms from that second half, and I know we're probably not supposed to talk about the second.
No. We'll talk about the second half.
And it's when they started to fall apart a little bit, that they really did start making some of those stupid mistakes with penalties, and they really got out of sync. Right. And there wasn't much to pull them back and get back into that original game plan. That concerns me a little bit, because if a team sees that you fall apart when you take away their plan, then they're going to exploit the crap out of that.
Yeah. And the good thing is, I guess, is you're playing with a lead, and eventually it didn't completely cost you, the game. Now, the game got really too close for comfort there at the end, especially in that 4th and 1 when, you thought Baker was down and got the first down and the ball's punched out and they return it. And thank God Kareem Hunt chased that guy down and tackled him.
He's quick.
But my goodness, that second half really got a little too close for comfort. And as a Browns fan, we've seen that story before where,
there's no lead big enough.
No, they're really, you're not, I saw someone right out there. I can't take credit for this, but this was pretty damn hilarious. They said, I am not comfortable until the Browns game is over. The Sunday night game is over, and I've watched 60 minutes and I'm in bed. So I thought that was pretty good. But yeah, again, no lead is safe. We've seen it before, but the Browns, again, before we've said, a Browns team in the past would have found a way to lose this game. Maybe not up 38-7, but they did find a way to, win it and just keep building on that lead. And that's something, maybe before we settle for field goals instead of getting touchdowns, or we don't make critical 3rd downs to keep moving the clock along. And
I don't mind if they dabble and play with the ability to be able to wind down a game by going that defensive route.
Sure.
But you got to be able to pull it off. Right. You can't really give in to their offense and let them tear away.
Right. Exactly. Just a few other notes from that first half. Baker hit Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashard Higgins, and I don't know if you remember Kendall Lamb, who was the big dude, the offensive lineman eligible play. So 4 different touchdown receivers on touchdowns, and 10 different receivers caught passes in all in this game. So spreading the ball out pretty well. Nick Chubb had, more of a quieter game, but he still had 80 yards and a touchdown.
But I'll take that, because if you can switch into your running game and passing game on a whim, that's a huge advantage.
Well, and the Browns have reestablished themselves as the #1 rush offense in the NFL. They were behind Baltimore and Arizona for a little while, but those teams have running quarterbacks. The Browns do not have a running quarterback. So that just shows you how dominant their run game is with their backs, with both Hunt and Chubb.
But they, I saw more times that both of those guys got stood up at the line. So Tennessee's front was way better than people that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I agree. And I know the Ravens, we'll talk about them a little bit. They play tonight, and they've been struggling of late, but that is still a formidable team, and that's going to be a big game coming up on next Monday night.
Now, a little perspective too.
Yeah.
Now, this was the game that we're going to show our stuff. This is a postseason performer, stack us up.
Sure.
We still found a way to nitpick us, but in proportion, like look at our record, look where we've come. We stood up against an adversary that was formidable.
Sure.
I mean, I think we did a great job.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think this was a game that sort of bought the Browns some goodwill on the national media side. The Browns, everybody going into this game, no one gave the Browns a chance.
Nope.
Everyone was picking the Titans. Said, well, look at the Browns. They're 7-0 versus, or 7 and whatever versus teams below 500, and 1-3 versus teams above 500, with that one win being against the Colts. Well, you play who's on your schedule. There's nothing, obviously the Steelers are really good. The Ravens are really good. So hold on one second here.
We're doing a show. We're doing a broadcast. Yeah.
So sorry for the little bit of an interruption there. That's what you got to deal with in live media here. So never a dull moment down here in downtown Youngstown. Love it. I gotta get myself back to kilter. I didn't know what was going on there. Everything good?
If he was gonna jump on you, I got him.
Okay. One thing before I get back into sports, I have this little like phobia where, and it's totally different at this studio, but if I walk into a restaurant or if I'm in a meeting or whatever, I always have my back to a wall so I can see the entire room. Here, I don't have that luxury. I guess I could look in these cameras and see, but
if they're ever sneaking up on you, I'll let you know.
I appreciate that. But again, never a dull moment. So back to this game. The key.
Who was playing? I don't remember. What are we talking about?
The key play in this game, to me, actually came on the defensive side of the ball. The Browns were up 3-0. Tennessee starts driving, going down. Browns stop them on 3rd down. It's 4th and inches. The Browns actually stuffed them, and I think Tennessee reviewed the spot, and it still stood up where the Browns stopped them, went down and scored and go up 10-0, as opposed to Tennessee going down and scoring. That was a huge change in momentum, and to me, that was the biggest play in the game.
Yeah. I remember as a kid that onside kicks used to actually be more effective than they are now. It seems like nobody's able to pull them off anymore.
That's a good point. They are, and I think statistically they are not as effective because the NFL has that concussion rule now, and there's only certain things you can do. I think you're only allowed to have 5 guys on one side of the field at once. So you're not having that direct contact.
The guy that drills them to pop it out, that kind of a thing.
Exactly. Yeah. They used to basically just, you put, your kicker and maybe everybody, one guy over there and 8 guys over here. And yeah, everyone just runs, and you have 6 guys that, just go and try to knock everybody out, and then 2 guys that try to go in and get the ball. So yeah, it's much, much tougher to get an onside kick nowadays. Yeah, you just don't see it as much. But we did have Myles Garrett back. Awesome. Back, and he got in the backfield, got after Tannehill, got a sack.
Can I complain about him real quick?
Yeah, please.
All right, one of my big complaints about Mingo is that the dude was super quick, but a lot of times he was always behind the play because
Barkevious Mingo? Are we throwing a Barkevious Mingo reference out here?
Well, that was my complaint. Okay. And then it seems like when what's his name came back, he was doing the same thing. He was overshooting the pocket, which was forcing the quarterback up, and so he didn't get real comfortable back there. But he was out of a lot of plays just because of that speed that he came across the corner.
Sure. Well, and I think sometimes what Myles Garrett's strength is sometimes can be a detriment because, like you said, he is a speed rusher. He tries to get around the edge so fast where if the quarterback steps up in the pocket, sometimes, if the defensive line can collapse it, they can all get to him. But if he steps up and doesn't necessarily get to the quarterback, sometimes he can, evade the rush, and then a big play can happen, which I think you saw a little bit in the second half with their passing game.
But they kept him out of it by doing whatever he was doing. And it wasn't until the second half that we saw he came into play.
Well, and I think one thing too that I see, Myles Garrett gets held an awful lot. And I know in the NFL they say you can probably call holding on almost every play, but I mean, there was one image I saw where he was getting like literally his face mask grabbed, and I know it was a still image, but still, like he was getting his face mask grabbed, and the other hand of the guy was on his shoulder.
But he still had his arms reached around trying to get the guy. He was going to break his own neck if he twisted himself any more than that.
I know. But to me, that has to be really frustrating when you're as good as he is, and sometimes get double teamed. But I mean, he's still putting up those numbers each and every game that he plays.
Glad to have him back, though.
Yeah, thank God. And here's something else real quick about COVID too. He had some serious symptoms. He said, like not where he needed to be in the hospital or anything, but okay, this is a 275 pound, 6'5", top notch level athlete who had symptoms from COVID. And, so if you don't think it can affect like your average normal person, if this guy can get it, that's something that, kind of makes me pause a little bit and be like, maybe this is pretty serious, that someone like that can get it. I want to go over some just first half numbers that stood out to me from this game, and please jump in or chime in if as you'd like. So Browns had 290 yards passing in the first half. Mayfield had one other game better than that in a half this season, and it was against the Bengals earlier in the year where he had 297. We had in the first half 9 different Browns caught a pass. Pretty awesome.
Love it.
We had the 75-yard touchdown to Donovan Peoples-Jones. Before this game, he had only had 72 yards receiving. So before that play, he eclipsed that number in one pass. Yep. Sorry, I got to use this number. 69. It's been 69 years since a Browns quarterback threw 4 touchdowns in the first half of a game. Otto Graham was the other quarterback to do it in December 2nd, 1951. Pretty crazy. The longest drive of the first half for the Tennessee Titans, 2 minutes and 52 seconds. Pretty awesome. So the defense, that's been our Achilles heel this year on the defensive end. We haven't been able to get teams off the field. So I think that was pretty awesome.
Well, and being skewed that much, having your offense on the field as often and as much as they are. I mean, towards the second half, are you just tired? I mean, is it as hard on an offense to stay on the field? It would be a defense?
To me, no. Because the offense knows what they're doing, and you have the ability to control the clock, especially when you have the lead. So you can have, football is usually a very violent, quick game for about 4 to 5 seconds, but then you have those like 30-second breaks in between plays. Whereas a defense, you don't know when the offense is snapping. So you have to be more like anticipatory, I think. So I think that puts a lot more pressure on a defense than it does an offense. That's just my opinion. One other defensive note, the Browns held Derrick Henry, potential NFL MVP, to 15 yards in the first half. They also caused him to fumble the ball for the first time all season. So pretty awesome.
Now, when you see these like clever plays, like the whole reverse handoff throw to Baker, how do you think when they get too cute that they push it a little bit?
To me, generally on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, just go with your bread and butter and give it to Chubb. But I think every now and then it's cool to mix it up like that, because it gives the defense something in the back of their mind they have to think about. Or sometimes plays like that aren't necessarily just for the team you're playing. It's to put it on film for your future opponent. So they have to prepare for that. And, so I think Stefanski, everything he does, there's a reason behind it. And I think he really, really does a great job of preparing his team, but also, sort of, you hear this notion of, he's playing chess while a lot of other people are playing checkers. So it's really refreshing to have a coach to like outthink and outcoach his opponents. And one other just quick stat, it has been 19 years since the Browns had an offensive lineman catch a touchdown pass. That happened back in 2001. So just kind of a cool number there. I'm going to throw it to a graphic here we have the graphic from the weekend of the sports scores.
It's on there too.
Okay.
Should be in that folder.
Right here. Okay.
Oh, maybe not.
Well, we'll bring this up in a second. Let me see if I can find it. Anyway, just to go over some sports scores here. We talked, just some of the more important games. The Dolphins took care of the Bengals, and they were able to win that game 19-7. The Colts had a 26-20 victory over the Texans. The Colts, or the Titans rather, probably
This one?
that one. There we go. So the Colts had stuffed the Texans with just a few seconds left, as Deshaun Watson unfortunately had a rough fumble to cost them the game there. And then our Vegas Raiders, on the very last offensive play of the game, come from behind to beat the New York Jets. And a game that I think Jets fans would have honestly been mad if they would have won, because that could have possibly cost them Trevor Lawrence. But the Raiders just came from behind there, ended up taking over the Jets. The Jets are now 0-12. They fired not the head coach. They'd fired former Browns interim coach Greg Williams.
I was wondering if that was legit. I heard
he threw an all-out blitz at the Raiders, and then basically, the Raiders are going to basically just throw it up, for grabs. And the Raiders have a couple guys, Henry Ruggs especially, who is just a burner, and he got behind the defense, fired it up there. So a zero blitz basically means you're blitzing your safeties. You're blitzing 8 guys and leaving 3 back. And
you don't get that quarterback, you are F.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And also another game too, we talked about, Corey was in here. He's a Seahawks fan. They just struggled against the Giants. They lost that game 17-12. The Patriots 45-0. You could argue Bill Belichick's doing one of his best coaching jobs of the year, of his career. And then KC and Denver kept it pretty close. They actually had some quarterbacks on their roster this week, but Denver kept it close, but KC pulled it out. Now let's talk about last night's game with the Steelers and the Redskins. I can't do that. I said Redskins again. It's the Washington football team. I got to learn. I got to get better. But the I almost did it again. The Washington football team, 23, Pittsburgh 16. Obviously, coming into this game, the Steelers were 11-0. And they were favored in this game, but not by as much as you would think. They were only 4-point favorites. So the Steelers ended up being a 6-point favorite. And if you had bet Washington on the money line on a $100 bet, it would have paid out $233. So not a bad deal there. So just overall, some cool things from this game. As a Browns fan, I'm not going to get too cocky because, the Steelers are still 11-1. There's, but was it, you could see some of the Steelers' weaknesses last night.
2 games in a row, same thing. They kind of fell apart a little bit.
Yeah. And the Steelers really did not show a run game. Without James Conner, they were not able to run the ball. I think Roethlisberger threw it 52 times yesterday. And you could see some of their defensive liabilities, especially with their 2 really solid linebackers out, Bud Dupree out, and then Devin Bush out. They both have ACL injuries, and that's going to hurt them going forward against some of these better teams. And Washington, give them credit. They had a 4th and goal big time stop to prevent the Steelers from getting in, but just an overall really nice performance by Washington, who's on the rise. Pittsburgh, obviously, probably weren't going to go 16-0 this year, but still 11-1, head of the AFC North, looking pretty pretty strong to win the division still, but
their stock value is on its way down. Cleveland's stock value is on the way up, and so you never know.
Isn't it kind of nice as a Browns fan just to? It felt like 2 wins this weekend.
It did.
I know Monday's technically not the weekend, but it as a Browns fan, it felt like 2 wins this weekend. So, and then maybe we get a third win if Dallas can knock out Baltimore tonight. I don't think that's going to happen, but hey, you never know. You never know. Can we take a look at the AFC playoff picture? And we'll bring that up right now. So, as it stands right now, Steelers still in that 1 spot, but obviously them and the Chiefs. I don't know the exact tiebreaker, but that'll play out over the last 4 games. But the Steelers still in the 1 spot, which is really key because they keep a first round bye. And if the season ended today, the Chiefs would be taking on the Colts. The Bills would be taking on the Dolphins. And hey, look at the 4-5 matchup. Yeah, the Browns at the Titans. That sounds like a game we've seen before. So
9-3.
Just the Browns, are probably our best hope is to end up in that 5 spot because that's the highest you can get if you don't win your division, and that's probably where we'll sit. I don't see us making up 2 full games on the Steelers, even though we have that week 6 or 17 game against Steelers. This
part, and when we're looking at this usual in our normal years, it's like this team has to do this, and this team has to do this, and this,
right?
And we might make it if we ate chili that day.
Yeah, right. Yeah, normally if it's like we're 5-7 or whatever it might be, and we're in the hunt, but we're that last team in the hunt. And, it's frustrating. Can we bring up just the NFC real quick? I just want to. It's on that same graphic. So the Saints right now look like the dominant team in the NFC, sitting at 10-12. The Green Bay Packers and somehow the Vikings would slip in right now at 6-6. The Rams are really looking good right now. They would take in the 3-6 matchup would take on the Buccaneers, and then again a rematch from this past weekend. Seattle would be at the Giants, and hey, we gave the NFC East a lot of we're bagging on them a lot this year. You got the Giants and Washington that are both 5-7 now. So I think someone's going to win that division, with 7 or 8 wins. We were thinking 6-10, but the Giants are, I like to call them, they're kind of like a frisky team. They kind of get after you a little bit, and they're kind of a little bit sneaky. So I
saw some win in the Jets too yesterday. So
yeah. The Jets are not by any means just a pushover.
Nope,
they are obviously not a good team, but they are not a team that you can just go in there and put the ball in the field and expect to win. You're going to still have to play tough and get after it. And any other thoughts from the NFL this weekend?
No, I mean that it was interesting. I still think Kansas City's the team to beat no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think the NFC can put up anybody that's as good. I think it's going to be a lot lopsided. I'm looking forward more to what the AFC is able to do at the end here than the NFC.
I've always kind of been on the side of the Saints. I still think the Saints have a really good defense, and if they get Drew Brees back healthy and with some of their weapons, I think they can make some noise. But I think you're right. I think the AFC is sort of the dominant, teams to be, because you really look 1 through 7. The AFC is pretty solid. The 7th team in the AFC is the Colts right now, and they're 8-4. That doesn't even include Baltimore. That doesn't even include Las Vegas. That doesn't even include. I think I'm missing 1 there. No, those are it. So there's and New England. New England's still 6-6. They're going to give everything they can to try to get in the playoffs, but I think they're going to have to win out and get some luck on their side too.
Now there was a reference this morning where the Dolphins exhaled. Was that because of the Steelers streak ended and they were threatened by it?
So the 1972 Dolphins are the only team. Now the Patriots, if you remember, I think that was back in 2007, finished the regular season undefeated, but then they ended up losing in the Super Bowl. So the 1972 Dolphins are the only team to win a Super Bowl, but like go through a full season start to end without a loss. So they always, the guys that are still alive and well always get a bottle of champagne out and pop the bottle.
There we go.
The
Now it
only
makes sense.
remaining team to to have that win. I'm trying to find the we're going to transition to the Ohio State game from this weekend. Oh, I see it right there now. On the other screen, it was a video, YouTube video, right, next one over. Perfect. So we're just going to show this Ohio State clip from this past weekend, show you some of the highlights, and then we will talk about that a little bit.
In the NBA, right? Like, you could make the case that this will be the most difficult and challenging journey to actually get into the college football playoff this year.
Fields on a keeper, bounces it outside. Now he's turning on the Jets. Justin Fields with a stiff arm. All the way down inside the 30, out of bounds.
Put him in front. It's not necessarily getting to him, making sure he doesn't play outside the pocket.
Fields on a rollout. Flips one down the sideline. Garrett Wilson at the goal line and in for a touchdown. So instead of second and goal to 5, it's to the 1 yard line again. Fields to the end zone. It's a walk-in Buckeyes touchdown. Hayward. Lombardi rather from the end zone, and that pass is knocked into the hands of Garrett, and he's got a touchdown.
All right, we are back. So obviously there was just a few highlights of the Ohio State win over the team up north, State. I'm not saying that name at all this week. I'm going to do my best, but 52-12. In a dominating performance. They were up 28-0 at the half. And, Joe and I were just talking off air real quick. Ohio State was without 23 players in total, 17 of those scholarship players, and 4 of those players starters, not to mention head coach Ryan Day, who was still in COVID protocol. He will be back this weekend. So Ohio State outgained Sparty 521-261, including Ohio State had 322 yards rushing. Just a real quick note for this weekend. As of right now, the team up north is still scheduled to play. So
Harbaugh's doing the calculations. He's like, we can screw him over.
Can I make a quick prediction here?
Yes.
I actually said Dabo Sweeney was probably going to be this was way back in August, would probably become the Jacksonville Jaguars coach, and Trevor Lawrence would go there as well. I am going to say Jim Harbaugh, if he is not coaching that team next year, he will be with the New York Jets. I'm going to call my shot right now and say, I think Harbaugh, I think he has some sort of connection with the Jets owner. I don't know that for a fact, but I've kind of heard that through the grapevine. And I think if Harbaugh goes anywhere or does not re-up with the team up north, that's where he will land. I will still hate him
if he's with the Jets forever.
The Jets will be a really fun, likable team to not like. How's that? I'm saying it. But obviously on Thursday, this podcast, we'll talk a lot more and preview that game because the team up north has to decide by tomorrow at 1:00 if they are able to play that game. And I'm just going to say fingers crossed that they are able to play. Ohio State, the lines came out on Monday. Ohio State opened up as a 30-point favorite in that game.
He's so fired. He is so fired. Well,
he technically for Michigan. Oh, damn it! Technically from that team, they don't have to fire him because his contract is just up at the end of the year. So they just don't have to renew him. So it's like, did you ever see the movie Office Space?
Yes, I did.
They're like, well, he just will stop getting a paycheck.
Fix the glitch.
Milton, yeah, we fixed the glitch. Exactly. So he'll just have to take his swing line stapler and take a vacation and go down somewhere else. Yeah, exactly. So if the offices in Ann Arbor are destroyed, you probably know it was Jimmy.
But we will not be brokenhearted if that happens.
No. I personally hope he stays with that team, with the Wolverines, because it just makes for good entertainment for us. I want to say this: he is not a bad coach.
No.
He is not a bad coach. Are they having a bad year? Absolutely. But I mean, he took the 49ers to a Super Bowl. He took Stanford from a pretty bad program, made it a good program. He coached before that at San Diego and, made them a pretty relevant program. And he's kind of worked his way up. He was a first round NFL quarterback way back when for the Bears. That's another team to look out for. The Bears are kind of the Bears are not highly thought. Matt Nagy's their coach. He is not highly thought of in Chicago. So I'm going to say if he doesn't end up with the Wolverines, he's going to one of those two places. So I guess I'm hedging my bet with New York a little bit and saying possibly the Chicago Bears. So we'll see.
I don't think that program will tolerate him for now. And I'm with you that it's not. I don't think it's necessarily all his fault, but he's going to be the one that takes the.
I think so too. And for him, he grew up right there in Ann Arbor. I think his dad might have coached there. I can't remember exactly on that, but that's going to be an interesting side plot going forward. But if you're a lame duck coach, that affects recruiting, and recruiting is a big deal in college football. And if you can't get those recruits coming in, then that makes your program, just that much worse. Let's take a couple more minutes and wrap up the show here in a second. Can I bring up the, do we have the NCAA? I don't know if we have those. We might not have. The top 25. Can we bring the top 25 up? From this past weekend, right now on Tuesday nights when the College Football Committee announces their rankings. But this is the Associated Press top 25. You see Bama 1, Notre Dame 2, Buckeyes 3, Clemson 4. Now 5, 6, 7, you see A&M, Florida, Cincinnati. I do not think Cincinnati has a shot over Florida or Texas A&M, even though they're undefeated. Their game this weekend just got canceled. That they were supposed to play, I believe, Tulsa, who's ranked number 18, which would have been their highest rated game. They will play in their conference championship game against them, but we're getting towards the end of the season, and there's only so many games left to be played before the final playoff committee.
So somebody mentioned that since Cincinnati canceled, if that team up there cancels, could we go play Cincinnati and still get our 6 games?
Right. Yeah.
Is it possible?
I don't see why not. Now, I have to say, though, I don't know if Cincinnati or Tulsa was the one that canceled the game. So if Cincinnati had the outbreak, unfortunately, that would be a no. Yeah. But why not?
Yeah.
Why not? You know who else I saw doesn't play this weekend? Georgia. Georgia's sitting there at number 12. I would love to play Georgia as a Buckeye fan. I just think that would be cool. But the Big Ten, as stringent as they are, will not let a Big Ten team play another outside of conference team with the COVID protocols. But they got to be more flexible in the rules. This is hopefully just a one-time year where it's weird and whatever. Just bend the rules. Just a couple other cool notes from this. I see Buffalo sitting there at 24. Just kind of cool for them you get a MAC team in there. And then obviously a big game from this past weekend. And I think I found out how to pronounce it. The Chanticleers. The Fighting Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina knocked off BYU in what could have been the game of the weekend. They literally stopped BYU at the 1-yard line as time expired to win that game. So that was a pretty cool game.
What the heck is a Chanticleer?
It's some sort of bird. And from what I saw on game day, it almost looked like a rooster. It almost looked like a rooster to me, but I don't know. I need some more. I need a Wikipedia that or something. But
you got the name pronounced right, so we'll give you that for this week.
So yeah, just baby steps, taking it in one direction at a time. I mentioned the Hoosiers, I believe earlier, but the Hoosiers pulled off a big upset over Wisconsin. And a lot of people are saying, hey, why isn't Indiana getting more love? They're number 8 in the country. Their only losses to the Buckeyes. And a lot of people are saying, well, we played better than the Buckeyes in that game. Well, first of all, no, you didn't. It was 35-7. But whatever. Ohio State won. Indiana played great. And I will say I love Indiana's coach. Tom Allen, you can see his players love him. He's just a fantastic human being, I think. And just really cool to see. His players were all like, we love this guy, come play for him, blah, blah, blah. But Indiana was a 2-touchdown underdog to Wisconsin and upset them this weekend. Obviously losing Penix, their quarterback, hurt them, but just a pretty cool moment this weekend. Arkansas had a big upset this past weekend, and just some overall good games this weekend, and they're only going to get better going forward. Hopefully we minimize the cancellations and going all that going forward. But, again, my fingers are crossed for a Buckeyes Wolverines matchup this weekend. We'll have more on the Thursday show for that. But I as a Buckeye fan, give me that 6th game so we can get into the Big Ten title game. But more important, well, maybe not more importantly, but that game means so much to not just Buckeyes fans, but Wolverines fans too, and really the nation as a whole. Obviously, it's been a one-sided rivalry the last really 20 years, 18 years or so, but it is still a great matchup every year, and just for especially like seniors from the Buckeyes to not be able to play in that game, I think that would just stink. But if the Wolverines are not able to play this weekend, the Big Ten owes it to its conference, to the Buckeyes, to find them a 6th game, because with their rules, that would make Ohio State ineligible to play in the Big Ten title game. Ohio State's the number 3 team in the country, and you're telling me they can't play for their own conference championship.
They will.
And
100% chance they will.
I think so too. And you know why? I think it's all about the money.
It is.
Because not only does Ohio State benefit if they make the college football playoff, the rest of the conference gets a windfall of that cash that comes in, which they will split and get a huge payout. So Ohio State not making the playoff or not making their Big Ten title game, thus maybe not making the playoff, hurts the entire conference. The only like curveball is that they won't have students in the stands anyway.
Sure, so it's one of those things where it's not as big a payoff as normal. So if they were going to pick a year not to make it about money, this would probably be it. Yeah. Because it's less money, but still, you're right.
But you still get all that TV money, and you have so many eyeballs on that game that, you better find a way to make it happen. So, all right, we're going to leave it there for the day. Again, I want to thank Corey McCrae from WFMJ for coming in. Obviously we talked a lot of Browns today. We'll preview some of the Buckeyes stuff with that team up north. I only slipped and said it, I think once, maybe twice today, but yeah, go Buckeyes. Awesome. 9-3 Cleveland Browns. How cool is that to say? But yeah, we'll get more into stuff on Thursday, and we'll even talk a little bit of Christmas movies. We'll get some of that in there. So for Joe Danier, for Mario in the back, I'm Justin. Everybody have a great day, and we will see you on Thursday.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown content, and we would appreciate you sharing the videos and the word about us. Thank you.